problem and makes a sizable dent on next year's budget problem as well. And I would point out that we have done this without it being a media circus, without it being a fight, without a lot of name calling, and we all handled it professionally, and I want to thank everybody who was involved for making it that way. No other comments being noted. Ms. Bertzel, will you call the roll, please?
Mr. Renshaw.
Aye.
Mr. Rhodes.
Aye.
Ms. Gannon. Aye. Ms. Fuller. Aye. Mr. Napolitano.
Aye.
Mr. Ridgewine.
Aye.
Mr. Stoltz.
Aye.
Ms. Hyde. Aye. Mr. Ballard.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you again for your participation in the process, and we hope to go forward maintaining a professional relationship with everybody that works as our employees. Saying that, the next item on the agenda is amendment number 1 to the collective bargaining agreement with the Teamsters Union, Local 773. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Earnshaw, seconded by Stoltz. Before we proceed, I want to clarify one typo that is in section 5 of the amendment number 1. The 6th line from the bottom, I believe it is, the bolded word employer should be employee. There's a one-letter typo there in the motion. Discussion on the subject. Mr. Earnshaw.
Not to sound like a broken record, not that my kids know what that means, but I'd again like to thank our custodial employees for, again, their very generous offer. It's always a challenge to negotiate contracts. I've been on the team, I don't know, at least half a dozen times with different contracts. They can be tense at times, but I'm very much appreciative that they were able to come forward with this proposal to again help us to solve our budgetary issues that we're having right now. I wish I could say that this makes everything go away, that it's a walk through the garden and everything's roses and such sunshine from here on out. There's still much work to be done, and I appreciate our administration making those efforts, but I appreciate so much our employees and the efforts that they've made on our behalf to help us minimize those cuts. Thank you.
I just want to thank both of our bargaining units. The only word I can use to describe what I've seen take place here at this school district is gracious. It's gracious that you do this for us. You don't have to. People don't seem to understand how important all the teachers are to what we do here. I hear too much in the press these days. I'm not going to go into a lot of details, but it makes me angry and it makes me sad. And our custodial force, they do a wonderful job here. Everybody has stepped up and given something to the school district. I and the other taxpayers and parents are in your debt. Thank you.
My comments on this subject are to also point out that we have a very professional custodial staff. If you look at the condition of our buildings and the maintenance of our buildings and how clean they are and how well kept up they are, these are professionals also. And we had a very professional discussion with our Teamster Union employees, provided them the information that we've been providing to all of our employee groups about the situation with the budget. And they took it back, and they came back with this offer, which again, they did not have to make either. So we want to call your attention to the professionalism of our custodial staff and commend them for their very generous offer to help solve our mutual problems. Ms. Birdsell, will you call the roll, please, on number 5?
Ms. Hyde. Mr. Stoltz.
Aye.
Mr. Ridgewine.
Aye.
Mr. Earnshaw.
Aye.
Mr. Rhodes.
Aye.
Ms. Gannon. Aye. Ms. Fuller. Aye. Mr. Napolitano. Mr. Ballard.
Aye.
9 ayes.
Thank you to all of our professional staff for your ongoing concern and belief in the East Penn school system. The next item is the report of the Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Thomas Seidenberger, with first the district update.
Thank you, Mr. Billett. I have a lot of things to get to tonight, so let's start with some congratulations. I want to thank all the wonderful people in our title department, Tricia Gutman, Mrs. Schulman, Mrs. Nowak, and all the wonderful teachers and aides that participated in the federal monitoring last week. We had Dr. Choplik. He was in looking at all aspects of our Title I program. I'm pleased to tell you, it looks like we're going to get an excellent report. They were very impressed with what we were doing. They were impressed with how we stretch our federal dollars to serve kids. They were very impressed with the array of services we provide our children. So I want to congratulate those folks, and we look forward to getting a copy of their written report. Secondly, I want to congratulate Deb Keeler, one of our fine teachers from Iron. She was named by the Keystone State Reading Association local group called CARE. She received the Celebrate Literacy Award, and she was given that award last May 4th, rather, at Cedar Crest College, and we again congratulate Deb. Also want to take time to congratulate our art department at Emmaus High School. The Lehigh Valley Council of Arts recently gave them an award, Growing Up Artfully, and again, we want to thank all those wonderful people on our staff for making wonderful things happen for our kids. Last week on May 1st, our indoor color guard, we got this information from Mr. Demmead that our outstanding young people won the championship last week in Wildwood, and according to Mr. Demmead, this is like winning the Super Bowl of color guard competition, so congratulations to those kids. And finally, I had the opportunity to attend the Pennsylvania Music Education Association regional orchestra and band celebration last Friday night at Emmaus High School. It was extraordinary. We had over 200 young musicians from about 50 schools throughout the Lehigh Valley and the Poconos. It was a packed house, and if you were there, then you know what I'm talking about. These students were phenomenal, and I wish they were all in our school district, but it was quite a celebration, and I think all of our teachers who worked in that, we want to thank you from the bottom of our heads. You did a great job of representing our students in our district. A couple other things that I want to take some time to report on. Dr. Tomer and I had the opportunity to travel to New York last Monday. We participated in Education Week, the weekly magazine or weekly newspaper. We participated in a leadership forum called Innovation Insight. And I want to take a couple of moments just to highlight three of the speakers. First person and most important as to why Dr. Tomer and I attended was to hear from Pasi Sahlberg. He is the Director General, Center for Mobility and Cooperation, the Ministry of Education in Finland. And why would that be of importance to us? Because we wanted to hear firsthand from a country that is now scoring highest in the PISA test, the international test, of which we get criticized in the United States for not having high enough test scores. But Finland leads in test scores. And we found it quite interesting to what Mr. Sahlberg had to say. He says there are many, many visitors, international visitors, coming to Finland now and asking the same question. How did you do it? He said our answers are consistent. complicated, but has a lot to do with professionalism. And I'm just going to list the most salient points that he made. Number one, in Finland, the country is dedicated to attracting teachers and leaders, because in Finland, great prestige is given to teachers and leaders. They're respected. They work on nationwide trust in that they believe that education is best served by letting the professionals do their jobs. So there's very little, if any, interference. There's very little interference in the national government. Teachers and principals are based on what the local situation and the kids they serve, they determine what's best for students to learn. They believe in, they honor innovation. They also remarkably do not have any standardized testing. Kids, in fact, study less and teachers teach less, but what they do is highly directed and very organized around the work of students. Also, I think it's also important to note that they don't give grades to students before grade 5. So I think there's a lot that we can learn from Finland, but again, I think the most remarkable thing, and Mr. Solberg kept saying this over and over again, in Finland, they let the professionals run the show. Next up on the agenda, certainly those of you who are in the audience know I've been raving about this person for the better part of 18 months, and that's Diane Ravitch. Got a chance to see her live, close as I am to you, Linda. And it was just one of those moments where you wait a long time and you can reach out and touch someone, and she was there, not on video, but live. And for those of you who know, I think for us in public education, our biggest cheerleader right now is Diane Ravitch. I mean, she's taken on a lot of politicians, she's taken a lot of money, folks, and at least in my opinion, I think she's worth listening to. And her points were certainly ones that we've heard before, but hearing it right from her, she believes strongly that this country is going in the wrong direction in education. Very critical of what states are doing, very critical of what Race to the Top is all about. A lot of people in the audience know I agree with that. What she feels strongly about is that the PISA test, if you look at the PISA, it virtually tests 21st century skills. And we're not doing that here in the country. And she feels that if we were really concerned about educating our kids, we would move more towards a curriculum that is PISA skills oriented. So she's very concerned about state of public education, and she feels that politicians and people are pushing private schools, vouchers, and choice have lost sight of what democracy is all about. And in Finland, by the way, there are no private schools, no choice schools. Every school is public. What Diana Ravitch is concerned about is this national deprofessionalizing of the education profession, and that is now in vogue to challenge the dedication and the commitment of professionals throughout this country. And finally, third speaker that was intriguing to me is, I think I mentioned this last year at the board meeting, one of the best books I've read in a long time is Disrupting Class, written by Clay Christensen from Harvard and also Michael Horn. Well, I was really surprised to meet Michael Horn last month. He's young, extremely young. And he started a think tank recently, basically talking about hybrid education, something which is one of our goals, to look at a more blended approach. Talked about school districts and schools throughout the country taking advantage of personalized learning. And so I found him to be very intriguing. I think Dr. Torma would agree with me that we had an opportunity to work in small groups with some school people basically from New York, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. You always find that stimulating when you meet new friends. And of course, I had an opportunity to meet up with some of my old superintendent friends from New Jersey. It's always good to see those folks. And here, maybe it's a little bit worse in New Jersey than it's here. Not much. But on last Wednesday, board members know that I do belong to the Lehigh Study Council, and we have meetings about 6 times a year, and our guest speaker last Wednesday was Terry Madonna. And hopefully everyone in this room knows who Terry Madonna is. He is the outstanding pollster. is a professor at F&M, but he spent